Oh yeah, that's that good energy.
Yeah.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Rules
To Engagement.
Oh yes, that's how you do that.
Yeah.
That's how you do that. My name is Shivy Brooks. I am the first active teacher to ever be elected to the Atlanta Public School Board and a everyday high school teacher. I'm joined by...
My name is Alexia Pendleton, also known as the dancer teacher and kindergarten teacher.
CJ Reynolds. I am a high school educator and a professional development specialist, and I have a dog.
Hello, everyone. I'm Principal Mo, your neighborhood-friendly principal.
Hello. All right, well, listen. So glad that you guys decided to come in and join us today. We have a really, really dope show ahead of us.
Yes.
This time, you not only get a special guest, but you get two, right? So
Give it up.
we are bringing on the Principal Akbar from Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're bringing in my brother, the founder of OSG Off School Grounds, Mr. Dennis McKesey.
Yes.
All right. Now, I would be remiss if we did not give a special shout out to our newest member of the show. Y'all give it up for DJ Space Jam. So to kick things off, man, I really want to lean in on some hot topics and things that are going on right now. In America today, we are witnessing over 15 million kids who are not showing up to school for one reason or another. Now, the coin term that everyone uses is chronic absenteeism, right? Which by definition means a student who misses 10% or more of school in any given school year. And so, you know, I really wanted to get some feedback from you all. And we've talked about these topics from time to time, but I really want to lean in on, like, what do we think is going to be the thing that, like, really kind of turns the corner on this chronic absenteeism issue that we've seen since COVID?
Yeah.
And what do you think is probably making this issue a little more challenging to deal with now that we're in this post-COVID world?
I had a mentor tell me one time that there's three kinds of kids. This is an oversimplification, but it works. Kid one is a kid that loves coming to school. You told them to do the odds, they did the evens also. Kid three is constantly in need of your time, energy, and attention. And then kid two is that kid that flies under the radar. I think we need to find ways to make sure that we're making sure that all of our students are seen so that those kids know that they're cared for, that they're seen, that they're heard, that it matters that you show up to school. Because I think when kids know that they matter, sometimes it's the only place that you feel that sense of compassion anyway. So it's finding those ways to really, like, tap into all kids across the board.
Yeah, facts. And I think, you know, tapping in with our families and really building that sense of community and the importance around, you know, building our kids up and from the very early ages. So if they're already developing a bad habit of just not coming to school as littles, they're going to continue that same pattern as they get older. So thinking about ways we can engage families to come into school more, to see what their kids are doing. You know, if the babies have a fashion show, they're gonna pull up. But then for the regular school day, you know, they're gone. So how do we get families engaged and really building that strong sense of community so that we're all on the same page and their kids are not just a number, but they're humans. And sometimes it gets lost in translation of, you know, you just got to come to school because you missed this many days instead of really treating them like people.
That's good. It's that ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure kind of a thing. So I love that.
So, I mean, 1,000%. So in addition to the family engagement piece, which I think is really critical, especially for our little people because they rely on our adults to get to school every day, the other piece is that student engagement. What is making kids want to come to school? What's keeping them there? What's driving them to school every day? How can we be more creative? How can we make things more relevant for them? How can we basically cater? I mean, essentially, students are our customers, right? If we want to look at this from a customer service lens, students are our customers. So how are we meeting our customers' needs while they're in our school buildings every day? And then also, how are we getting them there? And how are we enticing them, whether it's with, you know, really engaging lessons and, you know, strong engagement in the classrooms to even incentives where kids could potentially learn to earn. There are a lot of opportunities, I think, and I think if we really think outside the box and stop doing what we used to do and lean into what we can do differently, I think that we could really combat chronic absenteeism and ultimately eradicated.
Amen.
Mo, how do you communicate that to your staff? Because I feel like there's a lot of us that feel like they don't have that autonomy. They don't have that ownership over their classroom. How do you communicate that to your staff to let them know they can cook?
Let my teachers cook. So one of the things that I always say, I'm a huge mission-driven person, and so a part of my mission is doing what's best for kids. And so if we're doing what's best for kids, everything else will fall into place.
All right.
That's true.
That's just really it. And then, going into a classroom and understanding that if kids are rapping about the planets or something like that, they're engaged. They're learning about the content. It's just in a different way. And I think just having that open mind and understanding that if students are doing things a little differently, that's okay. And I think that's also the special educator in me, because I started out as a SPED teacher. So trying to get kids engaged in learning and getting them to understand different things in different ways, that's how I taught.
Yeah.
So I give my teachers the freedom to say, let you cook.
Yeah. Final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think one of the big things that I think we need to be aware of is the answer to dealing with chronic absenteeism is not punishment. And I think a lot of the approach to it has always been punitive. And, I offer to us really to think about, well, why is it that many times kids aren't showing up? And it's a lack of passion for school, a lack of interest in school, a lack of excitement for school, which means the cure for it is motivation, right? And so how do you motivate kids to want to show up for school? And that's why I think, listen, shout out to our parent company, Knowledge, right? In the work that they do, because listen, let's think about the model of how Knowledge works, right?
Yes.
You're talking about for a kid to show up on school on time, you could potentially win V-Bucks or Roblox points, or you could win Nike sneakers or some exclusive Jordans or something like that, right? I'm showing up to school for some J's. You know what I mean? I might show up for some J's, right? And so I think when you're approaching in that way, when no one else is doing it, you got so many apps out there, man. Look, they get paid to essentially just send you a notice that you missed so many days. They get paid to send you a letter to unenroll you, right? But who is actually taking the time to give you something, to give you a reason to come to school?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's it, man. Look, we could go on about this all day, but real quick, we're going to jump into our next section, hot topics in education. What's trending right now? And the question I want to bring y'all is this idea around equity in education. But what are your schools doing, or what do you think schools could be doing when we're thinking of students that specifically are neurodiverse? Whether you're dyslexic or you have ADHD or processing, or what is your school doing or your classroom doing? Because I feel like this is such a topic where teachers can feel powerless, that if it's not on the IEP and you didn't tell me the specific modification or accommodation I was supposed to be making, well then what am I doing? But I did all the things on the list.
Right.
So now what? Where does that fall for all of you?
Well, I think a lot of it comes with educator knowledge and being aware, and that comes with building relationships and community. And I know this is such a cliche term, building relationships. But for example, I have a student in my classroom who has sensory needs, and being able to
What does that mean for them?
So for him, it's sometimes noises are too loud. So he gets in a meltdown, which looks like a tantrum, but really I can't communicate that it's too loud for me.
Right.
So teaching kids how to advocate for themselves, even as young as 5.
Yes.
So I teach my kids, I feel, I want. Being able to talk through those things, and we practice. I need help. Some of the kids be tripping because they're like, don't do that for me. I want to help myself. So they get all angry because this person is just trying to help them instead of saying, I don't need help, but thank you. And for the kid with sensory needs, I have headphones for them, so they block out the noise. If you feel like it's too loud, you go and you advocate for yourself. You get the headphones. And then the kids know, okay, his ears, his brain works differently. So he needs to wear something to help him to feel safe, to feel protected. And then he's trusting and he's able to learn. But we have to be able, if your basic needs aren't met and how the brain works, you need to be safe. There's the emotional part of your brain, and then there's the problem solving. So if our kids are stuck on being not safe or can't control their emotions, they're not reaching the problem solving part of their brain, which is why we're noticing these behaviors. Things like being on the iPad all the time. Like they're changing the brain. So we have to think about how to address these things differently and teach kids how to advocate for themselves in a healthy way so that we can, be safe and get to the learning.
Facts. Facts. No, that's so important.
Yeah.
That was a free PD for somebody.
Yeah, for real. But I think it's also empowering for folks to go like, and the reason I asked was, someone might not know that, I can just go grab some headphones. I don't need the sped office to tell me to grab this stuff.
Right.
I think a lot of that's paying attention too, right? Like you see kids come into your classroom and they can't sit still. So instead of yelling at them to sit still, it's like, can I get them something can I get them somewhere to stand?
Yes.
Can I give you somewhere to
be
move?
honest about how many teachers probably get accommodations and IEPs on their students and never read them?
Yo, for real.
Like, for real?
But
You want to go down that road.
I'm just saying, like,
But they're so cookie cutter all the time.
Yep.
A lot of time. I'm not saying all, right? A lot of times there's too much to do. It's too cookie cutter.
Yep.
Yeah. From a leadership lens, though, I think it's about understanding what neurodiversity is and then how it plays out in classrooms, and then also how sometimes, the level of instruction that students receive often contribute to them not really getting what they need and bringing that awareness to the teacher. So, for example, this has been an issue for decades where we have Black boys being referred to special education and things like that, which is a part of the prison pipeline. Because I know that as a leader, and I know what that looks like, and I know how that plays out in the school, so then I have to go back to the teacher, and sometimes these are the things that I have to say that people don't want to hear. What's your Tier 1 instruction look like? Tier 1 instruction means is that the instruction that kids receive in the classroom, because a lot of times the issues or the things that the learning difficulties that they do have or they do experience can often be just addressed with Tier 1 instruction, but then not only saying what does Tier 1 instruction look like, and then, or making recommendations. You can do this instead of doing this, or you can modify this instead of doing it this way. So I think having that strong instructional knowledge at the leadership level is really critical in order to eradicate the equity issues that we see in classrooms.
Yeah, agree. Facts.
And I know we got to move on, but I'll be remiss not to note that also the other side to it is when we start leaning on punitive measures like suspensions and in-school and out-of-school suspensions, right? That, listen, we so drastically increase the likelihood that a child would drop out or a child will disengage when we go that measure. And so I offer to all my people, policymakers, teachers, administrators, and the like, when you're thinking, especially about the younger kids, about these out-of-school suspensions for behaviors. And by the way, 40% of suspensions really are about insubordination. They're not even about, it's really about fragile adult feelings.
And sometimes the kid said something that was true.
Literally that.
Like it.
Exactly, right? And you call it disrespect, but it was actually transparency and accurate.
Oh, come on, we can clock that to you.
Right? So I offer to us to really be thinking about that, because we even further exacerbate the attendance issues by being so hardcore over insubordination, over disrespect, and all of the like, that we're really pushing a lot of kids out of the classroom if they're not already not being there on their own.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
We have these small conversations here, but you can get so much more by joining us at KnowledgeCon this October in Cali. So if you want to get more information, more knowledge, grow, and just, get knowledge. You can see us at KnowledgeCon and tap into all the things that Knowledge is doing to transform education and really combat chronic absenteeism so that we can support our students and education.
KnowledgeCon LA. This October, the movement comes to life. For the first time ever, experience the rules to engagement, host live and in person. Re-engage, restore, reward. 3 days of power, purpose, and people-first education. This is the moment. Don't miss it. Join us at KnowledgeCon LA.
All right, the education world is shifting fast, but some educators are out here making sure culture keeps up. Akbar Cook is a transformative school leader who is a principal at the Westside High School in Newark, New Jersey.
Hold on. You got it.
North.
It's one syllable. North.
It's
I'm
not
from
Newark.
South Jersey. All right, I didn't know
you
how
really?
Yeah. jersey.
Yo, we got 3 Jersey heads up
We
here?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
This isn't about us.
Y'all are-
Akbar, he gained national attention for implementing programs like Lights On Initiative and installing a free laundromat in his school to support students facing hardships. Let's welcome our friend, Akbar.
Thanks for being here,
man.
Okay, Jerry. Keep going this way? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, we're going to
You can take the chair, bro.
Yeah, you want to take the chair?
throne. You get the king's throne.
Look.
over
There
there.
you go.
Yo,
Stupid.
What up, King?
How you doing, Lisa?
What up?
Thank you, baby. Sit here?
Yeah, man, that's all you, man. That's all you.
man. Principal Akbar, thank you so much for being here. It's really an honor. You're someone that I think we've all followed online for some time now, and to be able to watch your story unfold has been, I think, honestly, it is something that is inspiring to all of us being and doing similar work. I want to ask you first, you're a leader in education. What inspired you to step into that role of principal?
Wow. So I was totally happy being a teacher. Let's start there, right? I think I mastered, like, I call myself the kid whisperer. So I knew what the babies were saying and thinking. So I was cool with being a teacher. But one of the things my auntie always instilled in me was like, you can keep going up. So I became an administrator. And again, I got there and I was happy. I was happy just being, the blind side to my principal and making sure I took care of them. But then as all these ideas kept coming to me, I just was like, I had to keep asking for permission, So what made me become a principal is I got tired of asking for permission. So it was like, now I'm going to do it myself and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may with some of the ideas that I have. So that's what it was. I got tired of asking for permission.
I felt that.
Is that what we have to do?
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but that, I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
say
no,
what
no.
you're gonna say,
It just really resonated with me because I think that had a lot to do with why I ran for school board, right? It was, it's so much complaining we can do about teacher salary. It's so much complaining we can do about policies made by people who have never done the work before, right?
Facts.
So it's kind of like, well, what are you going to do about it? You going to complain about it? You going to quit about it? Or you going to do something about it, right? And so when I hear that, right, it may look different, but it's exactly the same energy, right? At some point, and this is truth be told, at some point, I think teachers have the responsibility, especially those of us who are veterans, to step up and step in. We don't get to just lay back and complain.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm very frustrated when I think as educators, we don't do what you said. Like, we're supposed to teach our kids how to advocate for themselves. Well, how are they going to learn how to do that if we don't model?
You got to be the example.
That part.
True. So let me ask, how has your experience as a principal changed the way that you view teaching and student success?
So as the principal of the building, like, everything that comes out the building is based on me. I'm gonna get in trouble whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Right,
so that's
right.
first and foremost. So I'm looking at reverse engineering getting to the minimum wage, getting to a living wage. That's what we ultimately trying to get our kids to, right? No matter if you're in kindergarten all the way up until high school, I'm trying to show them how to get to a living wage. So yes, I still got to make sure I get ready for the test. Yes, I'm sure I got to make sure my chronic absenteeism is down. Yes, but my ultimate goal is always going to be, how can I get that baby to a living wage? I heard you guys talking about IEPs. I think everyone deserves a individual learning plan. Like, this is how Shibby learns. This is how Mo learns. This is how CJ learns. So if I hone in and make sure that my teachers, because I want to talk about my book, but I say in the book.
Talk about the book.
It says,
Talk about the
focus
book.
on the love, right? Is out. But one of the chapters talk about matching my fly. So I want my teachers to match my fly, not how dressed and fresh you look right now or how the rest of us look, but it's match my passion, match my love for these kids, match my desire for them to win. So they got to match my fly. So in doing that, I have to make sure that all my leaders are matching my fly, and we all have the one common goal of getting that baby to a living wage. And I put my money where my mouth is, because right now I can say I have about 10 kids that I already hired in my building to teach. I mean, all the way up to I got an administrator that's going to, I'm knocking on wood, my baby going to pass this test and he going to become an administrator in my building. So I'm living the dream of what I want my kids to be, and that's because
Often, using the term baby
that's what I was
is vernacular that I see very much in the urban setting of schools, right? I have my own rationale for why we do it, but I'm curious from you, because you're talking about a grown individual, okay?
Yes.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. You're talking about a grown individual who's on track to be somebody else's boss, and that's still a baby to you. Can you just define that and why you use that verbiage?
I'm 49, Chevy, and I'm my mama's baby.
Right.
Right? So it's the same thing. My son is 26, that's my baby. My other son is 16, that's my baby. So why can't a kid that I got, from basically rooted to two, that been with me all this time, and he's about to become an administrator, that's my baby, and I'm a root for him. So they my babies. I don't know a better way to say it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Black children face is the adultification, the early adultification of their person. And it's constant. And so I just genuinely appreciate you elevating that, because there is we have a responsibility to put a cloak of innocence, a cloak of grace around Black children, because too often it's taken too soon. So, man, thank you for that.
Can I say something about that? So let's talk about Child Protective Services, right?
Yep.
So if I got a baby that's in elementary school, they're there. You call, something happened, they there, a mark on them, they not smelling well, just that they there. But them high school babies, Child Protective Service ain't coming.
That's right.
They just not. So, and they need it more than anything, because they're going into the real world in a year or two. So I know we putting all our focus on the babies, but don't forget that high schooler, man. Mental health is real and they struggling. So why wouldn't I still wrap my arms around them and treat them like a baby? Because I'm not just giving up on them. I'm just not.
Come on now. Come on.
So Akbar, you center love in everything that you do and stand for. And in a time now where schools are in crisis mode, some students, some educators are facing, admin are facing it. What would you say is the power that you have seen love transform your community?
So huge, and that's why I want to keep. It sounds like I keep going back to my book. I know Dennis loves it, but I mean, my book is called "Focus on the Love," and it's not from a standpoint of, all of this other stuff. It's like, if you're going to run, like I run my house with my children the same way I should run my school or my organization, the way Rob runs knowledge, the way, Jay loves be hungry, stay hungry, and all that good stuff. Like, they run it from a side of love. So I infuse that, because we dealing with some rough and tough, like I was talking out there. My school is on a cemetery. It is surrounded. 3/4 of my school is on a cemetery, right? So it's like, how do I get past all of the defense mechanisms if I just don't hone in with the love and just being consistent? So our babies need that, but love is ultimately going to win. We all know that the best teachers have the best relationships with kids, period, right? Period. So what is that teacher doing? They loving on them. I'm going to the debate. I'm going to the football game. I'm there if you need this. So everything that's ingrained in me, it starts with love. And I don't care if they think I was going to be this big bouncer. I'm the big teddy bear that's loving on those babies, but I do know how to bring that hammer when I have to. But most of the time, they know he gonna go through a wall for me. I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna avoid, having to get that hammer.
Amen.
Right.
Let me ask you about that real quick. I just want to. I want someone's watching this and they just started teaching. They're trying to love on kids and they're just not getting that ROI, right? Yeah. What advice could you give them to walk into school on Monday and feel like not giving up, like they're going to keep showing up and doing that? What's a practical piece of advice you could give them?
I would say to that educator, you have to be vulnerable. And be true. Kids know if you faking. They say call it capping now. They can tell if you capping. They tell you don't care about them. They know if you checking in at 8 and leaving at 2:50. They can sense that from a mile away, and they tired of people letting them down. So I would say just be there, be vulnerable. Tell about, like, we learn more. I know we got to learn algebra, but if you tell me about your credit, or you tell me about what happened to you when you went through this adversity, that stick to their ribs more than you talking about the next geometric equation or anything like that.
Right.
You got to give them you. And when they sense you, whether you're white, black, brown, I don't care what your sexual identity is, they gonna love on you and they gonna protect you. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for some kids. They say, man, Cook is cool. Y'all gonna listen to him. Like, we all know we had that one kid they were scared of. Boy, you better get them in line before somebody get me in trouble. And they will hold you down. So I would say be vulnerable and be real. As soon as you fake, they gonna just push you to the side like everybody else that lied to them in their life.
So I have quite a few questions. But
go ahead, Mom.
So one of the first things that I don't think people really recognize is that when you are deep in the work as a school leader, the principalship can ultimately consume so much of your time and so much of your life. So my question to you is how do you have balance? And what does that look like? Because once again, there are administrators out here watching that are wondering how you can love on your kids, how you can provide all these cool programs. Because we're going to get to the stage makeup and all that other stuff. Because there's way more happening in your school that I think that you speak about because you're a really humble person. I would really like to hear about that. But how do you balance all of that? Because there are some people out here that they're in their building from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. And, you know, how can they balance that, still have that love, still have that passion, and still get all the work done, and still have a life at the end of the day?
Yeah.
That balance has definitely been hard, but I am the sum of those around me. So around me, right? It's nepotism at its finest. I got my mother in my school. I got my sister in my school.
That's right.
My sons go to my school.
It's the saying nepotism with some chest for me.
It's a shirt, Rob.
But even when we started the Lights On program, I know we talk about that.
Yes.
I started it with my friends and my family. Like, you got to have those people that you trust. And we with me all the time. When I was going down to Penn Station and feeding the homeless, I had my sons with me. Like, so I'm with my babies, my actual biological babies, and my mom and my sister and everybody every day, all day. So they can't say where our quality time at. We getting it together at this school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, you have to find other ways. I got to do a family trip and things of that nature. I get that part, but we in this fight. Like, we in it together. Like,
Right.
and we need all of us. So my family's around me 24/7. That's how I balance it. They got to do this work with me. Yeah.
Agree. I completely understand.
Yeah.
So I know you're known for the laundromat in your school and the Lights On program, but can you talk about some of the other things that you're doing in your school? Because you have an entrepreneurship school, which, to my knowledge, there aren't really many schools like that. So when you're trying to teach your students about entrepreneurship, like, what kind of programming are you bringing in, and what kind of partners are you bringing in so that you're exposing your students to all these different opportunities in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I'm so excited about our entrepreneurship program. I'm actually taking a group of 4 kids to St. Croix. We compete in St. Croix against schools from all around the country in like a Shark Tank type field. And we actually are the defending champs. We won last year with my
Come on now,
hot sauce.
talk heavy.
You need to talk about that
But,
stuff. There you go.
So I would say my superintendent sometimes gets mad because some of the schools we have in our district, they have certain things. Like, you may have allied health, you may have dentistry, you may have this, you may have carpentry. So I'm the business school, so I try to take from a lot of their businesses and put it in my school. So right now we have a salon, and Chevy, I promise when you come back, it looked like you can take my salon and put it on Rodeo Drive and it would not skip a beat. It is beautiful. So I have cosmetology, and I'm happy to say in just the 3 years that we had it, I had 5 kids already sit for their cosmetology degree, and they also got a business administrative associate's degree. So it's like we're doing these things. So and I'm happy about that, right?
Yeah.
But as far as entrepreneurship, we just had Zoe Spencer there, and I know some of you guys have been on like Twitch and all that. That's like the biggest thing. If you know anything about Kai Sanat,
That's a new I want to be a rapper.
What?
That's a new I want to be a rapper right there. Yeah.
That is not being tapped into for young people.
But I'm meeting my kids where they are. That's the new entrepreneurship. If your kid make 23 million saying shark doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, I'm going to get my babies to say shark doo-doo-doo-doo as well.
You know what I mean?
So meeting them where they are, seeing where the industry is taking them, but also giving them a roadmap to success, whether it's cosmetology, whether it's fashion, whether it's, we just partner with the port terminal at Newark. You know, we got the Port Newark where, we ship out all the stuff around the world, but showing kids that we have supply chain management, but showing kids how to be entrepreneurships in that. You guys can be a Amazon distributor without even having the stuff come to your house. Like, why are we not giving the babies that knowledge? That's where the money at. So with the entrepreneurship, I'm just looking out there, seeing what's out there, and meeting the kids where they are, and matching those kids to that passion that they already have, and not just, like I said, oh, this crew going here, this crew going there. So that's what we've been doing, entrepreneurship, and it's been working out.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's real world learning, man.
Yes.
It is. It is. I would say I think one of the greatest sins we commit in education is that we hyper focus on tooling our kids to be good employees instead of tooling our kids to have employees.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Rock that tea.
It's so many of our kids, like, especially like you said, with e-commerce available, right? It's no reason that our kids shouldn't be able and knowledgeable to activate in those spaces, like in high school. Like, they're not waiting to be great. I think gone are the days where it's like, all right, kids, so after you get this degree, okay, then you blah, blah, blah. No, we live in a day where our kids, from that device that's in their pocket, can unlock the visibility of their genius to the world. They're able to monetize their genius to the world. And we should be up to speed and helping them get there. I think that has a big reason to do with why attendance rates look the way it does, why engagement isn't what it should be, because we're not actually teaching them how to go get it and win today. I think if we actually did that, that's the thing that gets them fired up. I guess my question for you is, like, what's the difference between having a school that's focused on like entrepreneurialism as opposed to just like a CTAE program? Like, what's the nuance?
I think it's interconnected at some point. So career technical education for what we have in Jersey.
Thank you for explaining that, because I just did the alphabet soup thing.
No, I heard you over there. So
yeah.
Career technical education, deals with a lot of the trades that we have out there. So the trades are important. I tell my kids, like, let's take plumbing or take electrician. When COVID shut the world down, you let that plumber in your house. You just sprayed when they left. Like you was gonna clog that toilet. When my lights was out, you let that electrician in your house and you sprayed. So some things are recession proof. So why are we not telling kids? So if I had a baby that struggled 13 years, that's the years you got to do to get to college, right? 13 years. I'm going to say go to college when I know they struggled that whole time. That baby may have 1 year Lincoln Tech or Berkeley. So why not put that baby in that? Or get them with the unions where they can be a glazier, make some glass. They can be an industrial painter. Like, it's so many things. And even my school, I have 33% special needs. All my babies, first of all, none of my babies are gonna be saying welcome to Walmart. That's not what we're doing. I'm gonna find them something they can do with a trade where I can still get them to the living wage. It's always gonna go back to the living wage. And what you just said, long as I can show them entrepreneurship where they can get to it, because they know if you wanna be an entrepreneur, you're gonna struggle for 5 years to 10 years trying to figure it out. But still let them maybe have a job that's help paying while they figuring out their dream.
That's
so
right.
just talking that real talk with them, and that's how we, I wanna say, navigate the CTE and the entrepreneurship at our school.
I like that. Thank you for that, man.
Thank you. Here we like to play a lot of games. I know we did some rapid fire before with some teachers, but you're our first principal on the show. So we're going to play a game, and I know it's a music game. So we're going to play Bird is the Word. That's what it's called. Okay. And so the game is I'm going to throw out a word, or maybe the audience will throw out a word. And what I want you to do is I want you to sing a song that has that word in it.
It could just be one line.
It could just be one line. It doesn't have to be the whole song.
Okay.
These are games that we weren't sure you would come if we told you that we were going to do this ahead of time. So, surprise! All right.
All right.
You ready?
So,
y'all give us a word.
Yeah, give us a word. Love.
Easy money.
That's easy money.
I can't sing the Keisha Cole song. I'm gonna say love.
Hey.
Yeah, I got said it right.
What we got? Give us one more.
One more.
Peace. All right.
Ooh, peace.
Ooh.
Peace. I'm probably gonna go. This is gonna outdate you, baby. I'm gonna sing the Big Daddy Kane and all them was in it. Self-destruction. It had to be peace. Yeah, we had it for self-destruction. I don't know what peace is at in there, but I'm sure. Oh my God! No, I got you, my God. We are the world. We are the future. Peace is in there somewhere.
Does it qualify? Yeah.
It has to be in the line. Sorry, I didn't specify to be in the line.
All right, one more.
I gotta be.
One more.
Come on, you gotta redeem yourself,
One
man.
more.
Yes.
Redemption.
Y'all help him. Give him an easy one.
Redemption round.
Oh, come on.
Oh.
Oh, happy.
Cause I'm happy. I'm a music guy.
Yo, we know you be humming through all the words in the car.
Yes, I do.
This 10 minutes from now, you'll be like, I should have said this
this.
song.
Exactly.
This song, and this song.
Exactly.
I love it. Akbar,
Well-
thank you so much for being here, man. You're really an inspiration, I think, to educators of not, what I hope folks see when they hear your story is that not to feel bad about maybe where they are right now, but know that you're evidence of things that people could be. And I think that that's something really, so thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And we're glad for having you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all, stay tuned to after the break for our next special guest. Give it up for Akbar, everybody.
All right, man, that was an awesome segment.
Yes.
Our next guest, Dennis McKesey, is a respected leader in education who is known for his work in school leadership, equity, and educational consulting. He focuses on improving outcomes for underserved students and supporting educators through professional development. Dennis, come on in, my brother.
Yo, man.
Thank you
for being here.
Absolutely.
My brother.
Absolutely, brother. Pleasure.
Love, man.
All right, so I was getting talked about by my co-host. I had to put on the OSG varsity jacket.
Wow.
When you elevate in this education space and you
Yes.
get called by the big dog to come be a part of the family.
There you go.
It's a special thing, man. So I was honored a couple years ago. I got blessed with my OSG jacket. I saw Ra rocking his for many years. I was feeling left out, man. So I'm grateful to be here. Wow. And then you sent it to my house. I don't think I've ever worn it in person next to you. So, brother, thank you for all the work that you do, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we could kick off. We can start by
and I can get out this hot jacket and get back to regular.
You can take the jacket, but you can also tell us about what OSG is and what its goals are.
But do you mind if I just kind of shift this just a little bit?
Sure.
Just a little bit, right? I think oftentimes the conversation always starts with OSG.
Yeah.
But I think people need to understand that what qualifies me as somebody who's able to speak about education is my almost 30 years in this profession. From school aide, teacher, assistant principal, executive director. I've been a professor at Columbia University, professor at Mercer University. I've done a lot. I travel the country, and I coach and mentor principals and superintendents for almost 14 years independently. And I think in order for OSG to make sense, you have to understand its background. Right? Off School Grounds is the name of my not-for-profit organization, which focuses on bringing all of these school leaders together along with elected officials, influencers, hip-hop artists, other people who truly understand that the problems that we face in school starts where? Off school grounds. So I started the conversation about OSG from the perspective of when we remember during the pandemic, the major issues that we faced were people not understanding how we going to address these issues with these young people.
Yes.
But the main struggle was because we never stopped to take a look before the pandemic to see what are the problems off school grounds, right? So when we talk about the tech inequities, when we talk about food insecurities, when we talk about mental and physical health issues that are going on in our community, these are all things that were happening before the pandemic. And then what happened was now we were stuck trying to figure out how do we resolve it. But those of us sitting in here right now, and all your guests, the previous guests, can all attest that our students come to school with issues that are where found off school grounds. And so OSG is me allowing the opportunity for school leaders and educators as a whole to understand that we can solve most of the problems that are happening in schools if we focus on those variables that are hurting children off school grounds. So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thank you for that. So because of your vast experiences in education and just the years of experience in all of the different roles that you serve within education, what would be the ideal or the ultimate Dennis McKesey model?
Wow.
Like what would the school model look like?
Well, it starts with going back to who my mentors were. Jeffrey Kennedy from the Harlem Children's Home, who really promoted wraparound services where we address all the issues that are plaguing the community. People with like Akbar Cook, who have the Lights On program. One of the things I'm a big proponent of is why is that school standing erect for 24 hours, but we're only using it for 8 or 10? Why aren't we using that as the hub of the community to help alleviate some of the stresses of the community? So a building that's open up, again, at least half of the day, if not all day. Another thing about my school, I would truly say, is that we pay attention to the adults as well, right? I think it goes without saying education is really focused around young people, but I think the adults who are servicing these young people also deserve an opportunity to hear and to be felt and to be loved on just as everyone else. So I think my ideal school will have that, and I'm a big golf fanatic. So we're gonna have to have golf teams and golf simulated machines and stuff like that. But
I'm a big mini golf guy, so I feel
Oh, so you feel me on that, right? Okay, yeah. So, but I think you take all of these components of people that I see across the nation doing great things, and then you now include those issues that we talked about through OSG. If we think of ourselves as the wellness hub, if there's a problem in the community, we are the wellness hub. I want to solve every problem that I know exists in those communities. And believe it or not, there aren't a lot. There are just a few that I think they multiply when we don't address them as we speak. So I do think that a school that truly is more inclusive of the entire community is something that I'm really looking forward to do.
Can I ask just a follow-up, because I love what you're saying there. What is Can you give a handful of ideas, one or two, of some of the ways you are addressing those issues? Like, what are like some of the practical ways that are really making change in your community?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we understand about food insecurity is it oftentimes is driven through economics. So we got families that we know are struggling to pay the bills, and oftentimes we know that they also are struggling to decide, should I pay that bill or should I find some food to feed my family for the night? So one of the things that I push with most of the schools that I support throughout the nation is, why don't we have food pantries in our building? Why aren't we addressing that issue by saying, you know what, let's partner with the local food, food markets. Why don't we partner with our politicians? Why don't we find ways within our budgets to actually have food pantries in the building? And so you're talking about, we always say that a hungry child won't learn at the highest level. So why don't we solve that problem with that? But you know why we don't? Because we don't realize that problem that happened off school grounds is affecting what happens when those children come into the school. So when we talk about looking at ways in which we can resolve some of those issues, is that. The other thing, we see what happens with with technology during the pandemic, right? We saw that those issues continue to happen even to this day. What are we doing about it? So one of the things I promote with most of our educators nowadays is, are you partnering with Best Buy? Are you partnering with Target? Are you partnering with other organizations like, Apple and things like that, so that we can address that issue before it becomes one? Because what I realized during the pandemic and beyond was that everybody cared at that point. People cared about what happened to children. And I don't think that the world wants to go back to a place where we're not addressing these issues. So I think we gotta, look at the resources around us and ask the question, what are we doing about it? Are we just gonna sit here and talk about it? There's an art to keeping things simple. There's an art to it.
That's a fact.
And we've made it so complicated to solve issues that are happening in our community every single day. If a person is hungry, what should we do? Feed them, right? Like, why we made that such a problem, I don't understand.
Right.
When we understand that mental and physical health is an issue, you know what? Do we think that we always have to find the most expensive clinicians to help support children? Or do we just talk to children? How about that? Why not just open the door of opportunity for us to say, young people deserve the opportunity to be spoken to, and spoken to with a level of respect. But we also got to say it's important that as we are moving this needle forward of changing education, that we cannot continue to overcomplicate very simple solutions, such as the things that we do every day. There's not one problem in education that we can't solve just by simply keeping it simple. Not one.
Yes.
Not one.
I 1,000,000% agree with you that I think we overcomplicate it all. But what I seen a shift in was, during COVID, it was the idea that like teachers and schools were essential, right? It was we need them because like we can't go to work without them. Like, we need them because like kids are only eating when they go there kind of thing, right? Like it became that. And empathy for our students and empathy for the needs of our students was very no-brainer-ish at the time, for lack of a technical term, right? But now it seems like we've drifted back into focusing on those type of needs, the hungry child, the social emotional needs, et cetera, et cetera. Those are more like a luxury to fund now, as opposed to something we felt was so emergent. What happened? How did that shift back to it's not the thing we should be valuing the most? When and how did we get back here?
You know what I think, Shivi, great question. I think what's really important for us to realize in a school is that the most important problem solvers are the ones who are standing in front of children. What we are waiting for is the elected officials, the government. We're waiting for philanthropists. We're waiting for everybody else to solve our problem, except for remember something. I'm older than most of you sitting here by a lot, right? And so one of the things that's really
that thing don't crack, do it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, by a lot. But I think if you can go back to when, say 20, 30 years ago, what teachers used to say all the time is, in my classroom, I had this bin of cookies, I had these bin of chips, I had things here for my children because I know they was coming to school hungry. those people were solving problems without asking anybody.
That was
to hand
PBIS.
out. Exactly. You know?
Oh no, wait, we did it again.
Yeah, you did the alphabet soup thing.
We did it alphabet soup again. Somebody would maybe we just put it on a crawl.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But it's so critical for us to understand that, again, there's a simplicity to solving these problems.
Yep.
And so if we don't sound smart saying it, then it doesn't work.
Right.
We have to be so scholarly in understanding basic issues, basic needs of children.
Talk
like,
about it.
why are we doing this? Like,
Talk about it.
I mean, mind you, we've all been to conferences. We've all been, on podcasts. And again, it's always the smartest sounding person that we listen to the most.
Yep.
But then when you ask the kind of work that they're doing, they're not really putting in that work. They're not putting in that work.
Clock that T. Clock that T.
Look, I have to say that because, again, Chevy, when you think about why we've gone back to it,
Yep.
because we've overcomplicated and thought that it's difficult to solve this problem again. Listen, when I was a principal, we didn't always have a name for the things that we have a name. We have a name for everything
Yes,
now,
we do.
Yes.
right? So when we talk about SEL, now, if you think in the most simplest terms of what SEL is, it's actually caring about a kid,
Compassion.
right? Compassion, love, understanding.
Empathy.
So exactly. So why is it that we're not doing that? Like that's who we're made of. But what happens is by giving it a title, now you have all these protocols, you have all these procedures, you have all of these, you have everything in front of you right now that's blocking you for just understanding how simple things are. And so I am telling you, Shivi, the reason why we've gone back to it is because, again, it's not cool in education sometimes to be simple.
Yeah.
It's just not cool anymore. Like you have to sound smart in order for you to look and sound important.
By doing that and professorializing everything and intellectualizing everything, have we stripped the soul out of teaching?
No question about it. No question about it. Because again, we had teachers who had less than what we have now, and made an impact. So why is it that we now have everything by way of of resources? Obviously, everybody can make more money, but all the resources that we have right now has solved so many problems, but we've created more problems once we got one solved.
Yeah, it's overcomplicated. Mr. Rogers used to say, simple and deep is far better than wide and complex.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Shout out
again,
to Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Shout out to the man, Mr.
But again, if you don't, but again, thinking about what CJ just said, if you don't say it as eloquently as he does,
Right.
probably most people ain't gonna listen.
Right.
Right?
That's true. Right.
I mean, thank
Because
goodness
we'll
that
say
you were
something
down
like,
to earth.
"You're doing too much."
Exactly.
Oh, that's not good
That's
enough.
it. You're doing too much, right? But I'm saying that when we're talking about solving issues in education, we have to understand that the answer is always in the room. That teacher, that great teacher, always closed their door and did what's best for children, regardless of what was being told.
And now that you say that,
Yes.
Something that I really admire about you is your ability, and staying on that topic, of the light that you bring into other people's lives.
Yes.
And the mentorship and the importance of that. And I'm getting a little emotional because the reason that we are sitting here is because of your light that you poured into Ra.
Thank you.
And it's just beautiful to see this come to light. So I want to know, after I get myself together,
Make me cry now.
how do you stay grounded in this work because of the light that you embed in others? And how can we be that light to our students, to people that we mentor, to the principals, to the admin? What would your advice be so that others can continue to spread light? Because you're not a leader if you are not lifting up the people around you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. It starts with
Thanks, Pookie.
it starts with us understanding when I decided that I wanted to be in education, one of the things that stood out to me more than anything else is how we bury brilliance every day. We're burying the brilliance of young people every single day. And you have to be so sick and tired of it for you to say to yourself, you know what, we can bring about that level of change. And you're not gonna be able to change it on the sideline. You're gonna have to get in the game. And so hence, that's why I ran off earlier everything I've done in this profession. In almost 30 years, I've run the gamut. And I don't do it to brag. It's for me to tell you is that every step that I've taken, I knew there was more. I had to do more. As a school aide, it wasn't enough. I got to do more. When I was a teacher, I didn't have enough students. I got to do more. When I became an AP, same thing. So end up now looking across this nation as I've influenced and work with principals and superintendents in districts across the nation, knowing that I impact hundreds of thousands of people every single day is important to me. But I'm grounded in the fact that I do this work because I understand this is what God has called me to do. There is no other way to say it. This is what God has called me to do. So I can tell you that this work as a mentor is one that's grounded in true faith and understanding that I'm just being obedient right now and just doing what God called me to do.
Amen. We hear that. Amen. I love it.
First off, Lex, I appreciate that you brought that up. And here goes the reality. All of us have platforms, right? We all have platforms. Some of our platforms look different than others, but we have platforms because people believe in us, especially us. We have platforms because people see the work that we do and they believe that we love our work. They believe in the authenticity and the meaning of our work and the intentionality of our work. And that's why we have what we have. But there's somebody who is inspired by your walk and they want to push their own walk a little bit further because they're watching you. And so, for you to bring that up is very true. Like this show is a legacy of your work because it inspired someone to take risk and take chances and go beyond the classroom, which inspired that person to reach out to us and reach out to others to continue that thing going. I feel like it might have been Nipsey, or no, it was Kobe Bryant, who said, the greatest human act we could ever have is to inspire others, right? And so I just, I want to echo what Alexia is saying. I want to express my gratitude for you living at your highest human self.
Thank you.
Right? Because that's very important, especially in this field where, let's be real, Black men represent less than 1.6% of all teachers. And so for those of us who choose to go into this field and stay 10 toes down in it, right? There's something to be said about that. There's a young brother who's looking at you, and Dennis ride nice. He gonna dress nice. He gonna step nice. He gonna look at the time nice. He gonna do all the things nice, right? But it lets you know that you can continue doing the work and do well for yourself.
Yes.
Right? And I don't think we have to continue the thought that there has to be a compromise, that if we are effective in the work, that we gotta remain broke.
Yep.
So I appreciate you for making it look good.
No, absolutely.
Right?
But what's so funny, Shivy, I was just having that conversation with the ladies, we have to understand the reason why, one of the main reasons why young people don't get into this profession is because those of us as educators have told them, you don't need to be in education because we don't get paid enough money.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
And that part of it, that part in itself is enough of a deterrent for us to say why we don't have more Black and brown young people that are in schools teaching, because everybody here is doing something outside of teaching and outside of being administrators. You're utilizing all of your talents, your ability, your knowledge, your expertise to do things outside of that. That's the things we got to tell the young people. We can't be afraid to have conversations about being able to monetize our intellectual property and our intelligence. We're supposed to be the smartest people in the world. And why is it that we're some of the smartest people in the world and we're the brokest people in the world? Like, why are people that don't have the experiences that we have and made the sacrifices we've had in education, why are they making more money than us? It's not about what they're making by way of a salary. Forget the salary. We have books in us.
Talk about it.
We have speaking engagements in us. We have companies in us. We have consulting companies in us. When do we start having those conversations out loud, brother? Like, we got to get to that space where we cannot continue to talk about education from this perspective of this deficit model, as if it's not an amazing profession, that we all work in.
And to that, look, I think you should
clap that up, please.
But I want to encourage, I know we're running low on time. It's not shaming one another too when you're doing it, but it's uplifting folks for your platform. I'm not feeling some type of way for your win. It's encouraging one another and celebrating one another to be all that God has created you to be. So,
Amen. All right, so we're about to hop into a little game we like to play here. Brother McKesey.
Yes.
It's called Quick Engagement. Y'all make some noise. So here's the deal. It's going to be rapid fire sentence starters. I'm going to start the sentence. I want you to finish it with whatever comes to mind. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. No teacher should make less than
any other profession in the world.
You got to give me a number, bro.
$150,000.
Oh, talk nice. Something today's students are missing out on.
Golf lessons.
All right, you brought that up, man. We got a school in Atlanta called Drew Charter, and they have a golf team there and a golf course on the school. Nice. You got to come visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Things that should be an email.
A response to your superintendent or to your superior.
Okay. Summer school, extra money, or hell no? You was getting all the money.
Hell no, because first of all, I just gave you $150,000 anyway.
Okay. So you should be good.
Yeah, y'all good.
Stay home. All right. What is your teacher theme song? If Dennis is walking out the building, what are they playing?
Annie Up by M.O.P. Shout out to Lays Elliott and M.O.P.
All right, well, Dennis, thank you so much.
Absolutely. But can I do one? Let me just do something for 30 seconds, if you don't mind, right?
You got it.
This is really important. You know, when Shivy came out early, he came out with the jacket, the OSG jacket, and you know, it's not about gear, it's an armor. You know, he put on that suit of armor. He understands he's part of a family, he's part of a crew that's going to have his back. Fletch or Mark or somebody, do me a favor. So Shivy, a couple of years ago, when you and I met, we met under, you know, some amazing circumstances. But shortly thereafter, you know, you lost my nephew, your son, to an accident. And the one thing about that jacket, we don't put that jacket on just anybody, right? The jacket is for people who've done the work, who've embodied OSG by way of community and love and sacrifice. And so what I want to do today is in honor of your son. I want to issue you a OSG jacket for your son, Bryce Forever, Bryce Brook.
Oh, man.
Bro.
It's good, man.
So please, again,
Man, you got two of us crying on one show. Hey, everybody.
So please,
Extras in here. Oh,
so
man.
please, man, you know, every day that you can, just know that he's inspired so many of us to continue to do the work at his young age. The sacrifice that he made makes us understand why we do what we do every day, bro. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please, you wear this, your family wears this. If nothing else, just hang it up in the closet, just as a reminder of what we think about him. So thank you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
All right?
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Oh, man.
So thank y'all so much. Oh, my goodness, you're crying. Oh, my
He's going to
goodness.
exit himself off the show.
Oh, my God.
We're about to make the most
Y'all,
awkward
look at
transition
look,
television history.
He got Bryce's picture on there. He got the foundation logo on there. Y'all see that?
That's so beautiful.
You got Bryce's name on the top and on the. Come on, man.
I love it.
Oh man, thank.
That was beautiful.
I'm glad I ain't got on no mascara or nothing. You know.
All right, well, this is awkward. Thank you so much, Dennis.
My pleasure.
But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we're gonna have just a little bit of fun.
Knowledge Connalays. This October, the movement comes to life. For the first time ever, experience the rules to engagement, host live and in person. Re-engage, restore, reward. 3 days of power, purpose, and people-first education. This is the moment. Don't miss it. Join us at KnowledgeCon LA.
All right, so this segment, we have Rules to Movement. And this is a segment where our guest comes on with Alexia, who you all already know, man. That's the real dance teacher right there. So she's gonna show them a little move, and we're gonna see if our guest has what it takes to engage.
All right, y'all, so you know that we have to keep moving to stay engaged, get our kids moving, get the grown-ups moving, but we gonna take it back to New York, because you know you got that NY swag, and we just gonna hit them with a little lean back, a little cool moment. But my man, come on in here.
All right.
All right, hey, yo, DJ, drop the beat. Hey, all right, y'all, you ready? Come on, audience, you too. Lean back, hey, lean back, hey, lean back, hey, lean back. Come on, CJ. Come on, CJ.
believe that.
And that will bring us to the end of this program. Thanks to y'all for being here. Akbar, Principal Dennis, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks to you all for being who you are as well. We'll see you next time. Peace.